Welcome to Capital Ideas. Thank you so much for coming to our first one. This has been a journey in chicken and the egg to try to figure out what needs to go first before we can make something happen. And at a certain point, you just have to go. So this is us just going. And so thank you for coming, and thank you for being willing to be part of our community of entrepreneurs who want to share what they know. Because that's what we're really trying to create here, is a community of people, a community of sharers and seekers of business expertise. We think that if we can facilitate that conversation among people who know what who are running their own businesses and have learned a lot along the way, that we can make Edmonton a better place. And so that's our high-level mission here. Our practical thing that we're trying to do today is talk to people, or talk with these smart people about how to get a great website. So I'll just do a couple of housekeeping things to make sure you know that you're free to tweet this. Again, it's Capital Ideas is the hashtag. Turn your ringers off though, because we are on camera right now, and our intention is to to edit this down into a series of useful videos on particular questions that have to do with how to make sure you get a great website, and we'll podcast it as well. My name is Karen Unland. In the back there is Brittany LeBlanc. We are the producers of this venture through an experiment that we're doing here at the Edmonton Journal, and I'll talk a little bit more about Brittany afterwards, but first I want to introduce you to our panel. So, starting at the far edge there, this is Everett Kunitz. Everett is the owner of Kunitz Shoes, that really good shoe store, and we wanted to have him on the panel because he also has a really good website, thanks to Paperleaf, and so we wanted to talk to him as a business owner who's learned that, who's been through that journey of making sure he has a great site. Beside Everett is Lisa Hagen. Lisa is the owner of Lisa Hagen Strategy and Interaction Design, and is a partner in JustWorks. And JustWorks made capitalideasedmonton.com, so we have gone through a journey with her to make what I think is a really good website to kick this off. And right beside me is Raul Mendoza. Raul owns Dirty Lab Brand Communications. He's has lots of experience through Red Engine and Yellow Pencil, and now you're not doing a color, you're doing dirty. And he makes his living educating clients about branding and graphic design. The format for today is I'm going to ask them questions, and we're going to have a conversation up here for about 20 minutes. And then we're going to turn the floor over to you to ask questions. We have two audiences for this. One is you, the live audience, and the other is people who are going to be watching the video. Just looking at some of the faces out there, I know a lot of you know a fair amount about web design and development. And so keep in mind that we're trying to serve a couple of different audiences, and we hope that if you hear anything that you would like to chime in on, that during that 10 minutes at the end, you will chime in and share that expertise as well, and we'll get that on video, and Brittany will make sure you have a mic so that we can hear you on the video. All right, so shall we begin?
Sure.
All right.
Sure.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So what I want to know first is, what is your number one piece of advice for a business owner who needs to have a website, based on what you've learned through your own experience? Maybe we'll start with Everett on that.
Number one piece of advice. I'm sorry for
a business owner who wants to, who needs to have a website, needs a good website for his business.
Determine the means to the end. First of all, I mean, what is your website? What's it for? What do you plan? Who do you plan to reach? What are you planning on doing through your website? So, planning around the need for the want, or the want for the need, whichever comes first, is the first and foremost important thing. Design aside and everything else aside from that, you just need to have, you need to develop what it is that you want this tool and this tool to do.
So
basically.
what did you have to tell Jeff and Andy at Paperleaf about what you wanted KunitzShoes.ca to do?
I wanted to develop something that was probably more akin to, say, like a branding website. So we have 2 stores here in Edmonton. I'm extremely proud of them, and I think our consumers like them as well. I wanted a website that was going to be able to kind of personify what it is we do at Kunitz Shoes, who we are in the Kunitz family, and just bring that to the public, basically. So even before I get them in my stores, and to bring them into my stores, I need them to basically meet Kunitz Shoes. So that with that in mind, we started kind of approaching that from different aspects and different angles, and looking at what we had for capabilities. I mean, being probably the least educated person in this room on website design and development, it was kind of an interesting journey just to say, this is what I want, and then being educated on this is maybe what you need.
Right.
Yeah.
So Lisa, what's the number one piece of advice you give to someone who comes to you and says, I have a business, I need a website, help?
I would echo what Everett was saying, in that you need to figure out what your target audience is looking for. You need to assess your business goals and step back from the website and look at it from a perspective of what are my clients looking for online? What type of information are they looking for about my business? Am I trying to sell a product? Am I just trying to communicate and engage? Am I trying to just build brand awareness? I think that first and foremost is a step back from the I need a website to what do you really need for an online solution?
So what do you say when someone says, all that sounds good, I would love all of that? Can you do that?
Well, we take a step back and really delve in and learn about their business. Really find out what they do, how they interact with their customers right now, what type of business goals do they have? Are they trying to increase sales? Do they have targets in mind for that? Do they have a product that they just need to bring out to the market and start shipping to people all over the world? That kind of thing.
Okay, Raul, what's your number one piece of advice?
Same thing as you both are saying. I mean, you guys are both very smart, so I took all the words right out of my mouth. Business goals first and foremost. I meet many people who come to me and they say, okay, well, I really need a website. Well, why do you need a website? Well, because my competitors have a website. Okay, that's not good enough for me. I really need them to understand why they need this website, if they even need a website at all. First and foremost, business goals.
Right. So is developing a website a way for a business to actually come to the realization that maybe their goals are not super clear, that they don't know what their branding story is, that they don't know what they're trying to get across, and that this journey with you has to be preceded by some hard thinking by them?
Yeah, I would definitely say that. Again, a lot of my clients come to me because they've heard that I do branding, they've heard that I do graphic design, and they have an idea that, okay, well, again, my competitors, they need a brochure, or they need a website, and well, where do I start? Okay, well, I'll talk to this guy does this. But I'll lead them through a journey of more self-exploration rather than doing the hard sell. If somebody comes up to me and says, I need a website, I won't necessarily give them that website. I'll figure out, okay, well, what do you need? Let's go through this exercise. Let's find out what are your business goals. Let's find out what are your past marketing initiatives. What are your present marketing initiatives? Who's your target audience? What are they all about? What do they like to do? What are they expecting to see from your company, from your service, from your brand? Are we meeting those expectations? And if we're not meeting those expectations, well, we've got a bigger problem here to solve. And if at the end of all that, we determine that yes, a website will help solve that problem, then let's do it, But if we also find out that, okay, you came to me for asking for a website, but it's not a website that you need, but rather maybe a brochure, maybe a flyer campaign, or maybe a whole brand identity overhaul, then we'll push for that instead, because I don't like to work based on my clients' reactions.
Right.
Give them more value for their dollar, right?
Yeah. Okay, before we leave this question, Everett, can you talk a little bit about how the process of developing your website helped you solidify the message that you wanted everybody who works for Kunitz Shoes to know?
Definitely. It's there's huge value in the website, both internally and obviously externally, but I feel like our website has become a strong point of cohesion for basically the core members, my work colleagues, in saying this is kind of what we're trying to personify as a business, right? So first and foremost that, and second of all, anybody I do work with, it's a way for us all to have an identity in the business, and the website has somehow become a bit of a pillar in that sense internally. Externally, it's, you know, I'm not sure how to kind of approach that question externally, but it's become in conversation in day-to-day operations now. It's kind of, how do we bring this then in terms with this website we have, or where is this developing in terms of the website, or how do we bring this then to that venue, that kind of thing. So I think it's again a question of chicken and the egg. You know, we had a strong branding idea when we started developing the website. That's become much stronger and you know, much more cohesive as we've started playing around with the website, definitely. So it's become a really, really strong point for developing our branding identity after the fact. And I think you don't go through that process without doing it.
Right.
You know, you learn as you go, and that's kind of the greatest thing about having developed this website, yeah.
Right. So that's a good segue into my next question, because if you're going to go through that journey, you need to find someone who's going to help you along that journey.
Sure, yeah.
So what should people look for in a website builder? What's the important thing to, like, how do you find somebody good?
Yeah.
Lisa.
It's hard. We talked about this at length in prior conversations, and someone that sits down and listens to you, and someone that tries to understand your business, quite often you don't know this until you've met with them or corresponded with them in some fashion. You're looking for someone that's not just trying to sell you, as Raoul said, on a product right off the bat. It's trying to assess your business needs, assess your goals, marketing initiatives, and kind of get that backstory on your business. And then they can go forward and pitch you a solution which may be different than something you had in mind, but the idea is that it's going to be better aligned to your business goals at the end of the day.
Are there any red flags that you should watch for, Raoul, when someone's looking for somebody good to do this?
Yeah, if you meet with a vendor who basically starts telling you what you need before they even ask you what you need, that's a big flag. I've had the pleasure of seeing some of my colleagues do this with other clients, where they'll go in and they'll do the big song and dance and like, oh, there's some amazing stuff happening on the web right now and you need this, you know? And it's, well, how do you know they need this? Why are you trying to shove all of these gimmicks down their throats? They might not need it, you know? I'd be wary of people like that, you know? It's and there's a lot of us out there like that. There are a lot of us in the graphic design and web development industry. You know, all it takes is a computer, a few books, maybe a little bit of know-how on how to use the programs, and suddenly you feel like you're an awesome service provider. But what exactly is that service that you're providing? That's the big question, right? So,
Everett, how did you find Paperleaf?
It was a bit of a process. I've been through a couple different designers and worked with a couple different groups of people and things like that, and I've found that the most important thing for me was just like-mindedness, but you can have, you know, you need to differ, you have to have different opinions on things, but somebody who can walk into my business and without me selling them on my business, they're understanding what I'm doing. They're understanding what I'm trying to bring right away. So what it is that I have that's marketable, that's my own brand story, things like that, without me having to sell that. So when somebody comes back to me and they kind of get it right away and they go, you know what, I really understand Kunich Shoes. I see you doing this, that, and the other, and here's kind of a little synopsis of what you are, Kunich Shoes, to me, and I say, you know what, we're kind of right on the same track that way. So whatever develops out of that, obviously, is going to be kind of, you know, it's a mutual experience of the brand where I can at length talk about how great we are as a shoe store, but I need somebody to walk in and say, hey, this is the commodity that you're kind of trying to bring, or this is what you were showing, you know, as a brand, and when you agree with that, then I think you've got a good relationship. You know, and at the end of the day, as a business owner, you have to really trust your own instinct and say, when you do want and need a product, you have to sometimes trust that judgment. You know, I sell shoes. I know shoes really well. When somebody comes in my store with a specific need for a specific shoe in mind, 90% of the time, that's really what they want. And I don't need to change their mind. I do have consumers who come in and they go, hey, you know, I need a pair of shoes. Please, you know, give me a hand. In which case, I can certainly help them out. But you know your business better than you think you do oftentimes. And kind of sometimes you do need to stick to your guns a little bit, you know. And when it comes to web design and things like that, yeah, it can sometimes create a bit of friction and things like that. But there's two parties involved, and if they're a like-minded party or somebody who really understands your branding story, then the differences you're going to have in opinion are going to bring out great things.
Right.
So you do really need to sometimes kind of voice your opinions, because you can't just sit back and say like, hey, give me a website,
Right.
you know. Yeah.
Also, what you're telling me is that there's a real value to having this work done locally.
Yeah.
Do you agree with that? Do you think that web design should be done by somebody who can actually walk into your store?
I think that definitely helps. It helps to be able to get that backstory. That being said, I have clients, outside of Edmonton, North America, and if the person is good at their job and good at assessing what the business is and what they do, and being able to ask those right questions to be able to get that information out from the business owner, then they don't have to necessarily go local. But I'm always a supporter of local business first.
Right.
I'm a huge supporter of the face-to-face interaction. I've dabbled in the past with, online communication and, teleconferencing and stuff like that. And I've found that all of my projects that have started and ended that way just weren't as good as the ones where I actually got to sit down face-to-face with my clients and really work at it at that personal level. There's a lot of communication that happens in between the lines, in faces and in expressions that you just can't get from an online questionnaire, from a telephone call, from a series of emails. Certainly through emails, you can't get that. So for me, I've been very focused on working with people that are within arm's reach, so within the province. Every now and then I'll get a request from outside of the province, and unless the budget is there for me to fly out, on certain milestones during the project, I'll turn those down, because I feel I'm not giving 100% value to my client if I can't always be there for them.
Okay. What's a reasonable amount to spend on a website? It's a hard question, but ballpark, if I've got a business, how much should I spend? Can I just do it myself? Can't my brother-in-law do it?
I'm curious to know this from your perspective.
Well, I mean, we're big advertisers, I think, for the size of our business and for what we do here in Edmonton. We do a lot of advertising. I would see my website coming out of that type of budget. So basically what I did is I kind of looked at what is the expected lifespan of this website, and then break that out as a percentage of what you're willing to spend on advertising. And I think dollar for dollar, bang for your buck on something like a website, it's probably the best advertising investment. It's one of the hardest initial costs, but I mean, just take that and spread that out right afterwards and look at that. And I don't think a dollar value can really sum it up, because you can spend anywhere from $300, let's be honest, you can do that, up to whatever. I don't even know what you can. We felt that we spent a little less than we'd expected to. We knew it would be expensive, but we knew that it was an expense that just needed to happen. It had to come from somewhere. So we make provision for it and you spend it, and don't look back, because it's, like I said, dollar for dollar, probably the best advertising bang for buck we've found. Yeah.
Can you tell us how much you spent?
I spent $5,000 on our website, which I felt was a very reasonable amount for what we got out of it, and the amount of time and the relationship afterwards that developed with my designers. So what spun off from the website development, I now do all of my print advertising in-store and everything outside with the same people. And what the relationship, everything that developed around that initial investment of me having to swallow that $5,000 and go, okay, let's do it, kind of thing, which for a lot of small businesses, that's not chump change,
Yeah.
right? So what came out of that, though, was a relationship, extremely trusting relationship. So it was money well spent.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that ballpark for starting out something that sounds that gets you going? 5,000?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Depends what you want.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it depends. It
And that's
depends what
what-
you want. Depends
yeah.
on who's asking.
Definitely, and we have we didn't have huge aspirations for a website. I didn't need something that was over the top and huge and extremely ornate, and we were pretty cut and dry in what we wanted from the website, and that was developed. And we used a WordPress platform, which definitely saved everybody a lot of time and money and things like that. And it's, you can probably, the ceiling is way higher than that, typically. But yeah, I don't think you need to necessarily always go for the big budget blast, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Anything to add on that before the next question?
Yeah, I was going to say, again, it really all goes back towards the business goals. And I guess in this case, the nature of the company and the nature of who's asking, right? If a small business owner is asking me, how much is a website going to cost, and I don't think it's unreasonable to look at $10,000 and below. Mm-hmm. But if the city of Edmonton comes to me and asks me for a website and says I've only got a budget of $10,000, I'll be like, well, it's not happening. That's not going to happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have to be realistic with the intent of the actual product itself, right? It can be extremely complex. I've had a lot of clients too that, again, small business clients, who want to tackle the world of e-commerce, right? And suddenly they want this, they want to be eBay, and it's not going to happen in 10 grand. Yeah, it's not going to happen in 10 grand. I may be able to start on it, but unless there is that influx of 10 grand every single month, then maybe we need to rethink your strategy here, or reset your expectations.
Right. How much should the business owner be willing to be involved in the website after it's built? Can I just say, okay, I wrote my check, I'm done, I got a website, done. Now I can go back to selling shoes. How much should I be involved afterwards?
Why don't you start, Lisa?
We have clients that prefer to be hands-off in terms of day-to-day content updates and whatnot, and prefer their developer or their team to take care of that. And I think that's fine if that's what the company wants to do. But in terms of being completely hands-off, your website is never completely hands-off. It's a living, breathing online presence. It has to change. It should change with your business. It should change with your communication and marketing goals. It should change with your business goals. And so it should be something that is always revisited. Not necessarily daily, not necessarily weekly, but you need to continue that dialogue and have that open communication on both sides.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I definitely, I agree. I think, the website's the one component of my marketing, and I'm going to say advertising strategy, where you have the ability, it's extremely tactile, mobile, malleable way of disseminating information, or whatever you want to call it. Definitely hands-on. It's the one way I have of engaging with my consumers in a way that's one-to-one or one-to-many, if you want to call it that way, and it's not social media. So basically, this is straight up, this is my store, this is what we're doing, and I have the ability to really tweak that, again, I'm going to say persona, and let people know what we're about. So if I put up that static website that just sits there and this is my store, here's some photos, here's where we're at, kind of thing, that's not engaging.
Right.
I can only assume that I've brought a consumer to my website, either A, because they're looking for shoes already, and I want to entice them to come into my store, or B, they're looking for Kunitz shoes, and I don't want to let them down. So it's a way of them looking into my shop windows before they're at my shop. At the end of the day, I want everybody coming to my shop. That's why I have a website. But before I can get them to do that, I have to be able to show them what it is that we are and engage with them. The only way I can do that is a timely way, right? So sometimes that's in product. Other times that's a simple little blog post about, hey, I saw these shoes in Spain my last trip. Or there's lots of different ways to do that, but you definitely have to keep it current, relevant, and understand who it is that you're talking with and be at the other end. That's the most important thing. You get an email, you answer it. You don't send back an automated response. We're going to respond to you in 24 hours, something like that. You respond to it personally as a small business owner, and that's worth its weight in gold.
Right.
A personal email is way better than a phone call. To
Yeah.
any customer will tell you that, and especially if you respond within an hour. I mean, I'm not saying you have to sit there with your phone all day waiting for emails to come in, but being at the other end of the website as a business owner is huge. Yeah.
Okay. I want to give the audience a little bit of time to ask a question. Does anybody have a question for our panelists? Yes. Wait.
I have a question about content strategy. How important is it for clients to have finished content before the vendors are able to start even any type of design process?
That is a fantasy world. I have yet to meet a client who has provided final content before the project actually starts. They'll have rough drafts. They'll have an idea of what it is that they want to communicate. Writing for the web versus writing for a brochure or for print, there's some very subtle nuances and differences between the two. A lot of clients don't really understand that, and so they come to me thinking that, oh, hey, this is my final draft, this is my final design or my final content. It's on my brochure, and I just want it slapped onto my website. Well, we may be able to do that, but again, depending on what you want your website to do, if you want it to be a little bit more active, if we start talking about search engine optimization and all the back end stuff, then well, maybe we need to start rewriting that content. Again, it'd be nice if clients came to us with more than what they usually have, but I don't expect them to have really anything ready.
So how much do they need to have before you can start? Do you just lorem ipsum it after you finish figure out what their business goals are?
Yeah, I'd probably just say that from my own experience, you have vignettes in your mind of what you want and what you need, and it's basically the synthesis, like that relationship of you and the designer, that's going to bring out the content. I'm not going to walk up to the designer and say, hey, this is page 1, this is homepage, here's blah, 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 here's that. Just design this for me, because I could just probably do that myself if I knew that much about it. I know shoes. My website designer knows building a website. And out of that relationship is the content develops, right? So I would never approach somebody as a business owner and say, like, this is exactly what I want, because you're probably, like I said, you could probably do that on your own. And you're not going to get what you want at the end of the day. So you go to somebody because they can bring something to the table.
Yeah, I agree. They need to be able to help you suck that information out of the client and figure out what that architecture looks like. The exact final copy isn't going to be provided right off the bat, though that would be nice. But you need to know things like, are you selling products online? Not, we've started to build your website, and the client decides, oh, but actually, I forgot about this really important, huge piece, like selling a product online. We need to integrate that. Can you put that in there? And so that's why we need to develop all that stuff up front.
I think in terms of content strategy and in terms of process, a good web designer, a good web developer will start to think about content, or at least breach that subject right from the very beginning. When we start assessing, the needs of this new website, when we start looking at the site architecture, the sitemap, redrafting the sitemap, it's very important to start talking about content strategy at that point. A lot of clients and a lot of web developers and web designers, admittedly, it becomes an afterthought. They'll put together these websites, they'll slap lorem ipsum all over it, and assume that, okay, well, now it's time for the client to enter their content, or for this web writer to enter the content. And once they start writing for this container that's already been built, it may not work as properly as it should. Suddenly the user experience has been compromised because we built these really tight containers that don't have that flexibility. So content strategy, it's become, as of late, like really the big buzzword. It's like we really got to look at our content first and foremost before we even, put pixel to screen.
Okay,
I was
we
going to say
have
pen to paper, but.
time for one more question from the audience, because we've been so eloquent. Ahmed, yeah.
My question is actually more for Everett, specifically as a business owner. How did you measure and track the success of your website in your business?
Yeah. So one of the strategies we had when we first started looking at the website is I wanted to develop basically an easy email newsletter list, and a great way of tracking how that's working is, well, start collecting customer emails, and it's an opt-in on the website, and we sat on that for about a year and slowly collected that, and I just sent out my first email newsletter. Huge success. right? And this is directly related to my website. So I can, Google Analytics, fantastic. All of that stuff is great. But what I really want to see at the end of the day is people in my stores. So we built that into the website thinking that that would be kind of a direct measure, of people walking in the door that had been through my website, want more information, and are waiting for it. So that was a great measure for me, and that's just this week, that's just coming out, and it's been great. What can I say? It's almost immeasurable at the end of the day too. As with all advertising, people will try and put metrics on everything. It's the residuals. I know as well as anybody else that I can bring bright red patent high heel into the store, right? And I know that nobody's going to pick that up to buy, or nobody's going to buy it, but everybody will pick it up. That's going to sell 10 pairs of brown shoes, and that's just how it works. So how do I measure? But I have a extremely poor sell-through on that red patent shoe. So am I to drop the red patent shoe? Well, no, It's the things that you can't measure that you just have a gut feeling, and that's the business owner at the end of the day. I know when I get a phone call because a person's seen a photo of something I posted on our website of something related, that's how I just kind of tweak something there. And we also, and something like Google Analytics is a great tool. I've watched our traffic steadily climb day for day, that kind of thing. It's great for really pinpointing specific points on the website that are weak, strong. We really try to funnel traffic to specific areas, and you can really watch that happening. You can watch it real time now on
right.
Google Analytics, which I'm not sure is a great thing.
Maybe good or maybe bad.
Because you can sit there forever watching people click around your website, which is pretty cool. But
Absolutely.
yeah. So that's basically it. It is at the end of the day a bit of a jump, and there are ways of tracking it, but I don't put too much credence in it. Aside from that email newsletter, which I thought was a great way of tracking how people are responding to our website.
Right. Excellent. Well, we tried to structure this so you could get back to the office in time. So I'd love to keep the conversation going, but I think we'll end it here. Thank you so much for your wisdom. I hope you found it useful. I hope the audience finds it useful. Because you are here, you are all members of Capital Ideas, so we will be sending you the video links when they're ready, and some useful summaries of what we learned here today. If you have things that you want to let us know about that you think would be useful to the community, email that to us. Brittany and I are both available at hello@capitalideasedmonton.com. And all of our all of our contact information is on capitalideasedmonton.com. Our next Capital Ideas event will be July 18th. As Capital Ideas members, you also have the ability to ask questions that you want us to answer, and it would probably be in a format similar to this. So if you have a question that's keeping you up at night, then please ask it of us, and we will see what we can do to answer it. If you have expertise that you think would be of use to other people, other business owners, other entrepreneurs, let us know. We would like to know what kind of expertise we can tap into in our growing community here. And if you have not signed up, if you came because you saw us on Twitter, then please see Brittany afterwards so that we can make sure that we have your contact information so we can send you that newsletter-like thing afterwards. If you found this useful, please tell your fellow business owners about it, because we will be doing one on July 18th and a couple more times throughout this summer, and then hopefully continue on through the fall. If you did not find this useful, please tell us so that we can make it more useful next time. And thank you. Thank you very much for coming. It's very good.
Thanks, guys.